Hi, my love. Welcome to your weekly forecast for the week of February 16th to the 23rd, 2025. This week brings long-awaited movement and really starts off the main changes of spring. The highlights of the week are the sun ingressing into Pisces and Mars finally turning direct. So we're making our way out of the heaviness of the last 2 months, but the real work of 2025 is only just getting started. So let's get into the highlights of the week. On Tuesday, the sun enters Pisces until March 20th, and we are entering Pisces season. So Pisces season puts our focus on deeper topics like our emotional needs and acceptance and forgiveness. This is a season that asks us to prioritize our mental and emotional and spiritual well-being. And when we can do that, we can arrive at a newfound sense of wholeness or equanimity. Pisces season can be a time of being able to reach a sense of peace with our past and being able to really let things go. This is the last season of the zodiacal year. And so the last 12 months can kind of come into focus now, and we can start to see them as a whole and maybe understand what is now complete. As a mutable water sign, Pisces isn't necessarily about taking action or starting things. It's about feeling, integrating, and creating closure. So we can grow this season by doing that and practicing stillness and practicing remembering that at the very end of the day, it matters more who we are rather than what we do. But on the other side of Pisces season, we enter Aries season, and we start off a new 12-month solar cycle, which is known as the zodiacal new year. And so come March 20th, we can be ready to ignite new beginnings and think forward with a new year-long vision, perhaps. Now on Thursday, Mercury forms a square to Jupiter. So tension between the big picture and the details, or tension between the theory of a thing and the practice of it. Jupiter is the planet that has to do with values, philosophy, and theory. And Mercury is about practicality and getting from point A to point B. So this tense aspect between them can throw a wrench in our plans and ask us to think about things in a new way in order to move forward. It could be that we reach a point with a process or a project that we have to stop looking so closely at the details and just take a step back and remember what it is we really want to express. Or this square could manifest as some ideological debate or a clash of ideas. Mercury is in Pisces and Jupiter is in Gemini. So these are both mutable signs, which are flexible. And so this square could be really productive in terms of negotiations or changing things in a way that works for everyone and moves us forward, all feeling good. Ultimately, squares in astrology ask us to change. And so that's what we want to embrace on Thursday. We want to be open to change and trying things in a new way. On Sunday morning, Mercury forms a trine to Mars, and then on Sunday evening, Mars turns direct. So Mercury in Pisces forming this trine to Mars in Cancer can bring this supportive, flowing energy between our thinking and our action, because that's Mercury and that's Mars. So this trine could stimulate productivity and sharing and maybe sheer creativity. This could be a pretty constructive day. But since Pisces and Cancer are both water signs, this trine could be really slippery, and it could lead to a lot of emotions coming up and out, for better or for worse. Then in the evening, Mars turns direct, and it will not be retrograde again until 2027. So Mars has been retrograde since December 6th, 2024. So it's been over 10 weeks that Mars, the planet of action and drive, has been retrograde or out of commission. And it's been just over 5 weeks since Mars has been retrograde and debilitated in Cancer. So this has been a pretty intense Mars retrograde, and we all definitely have a lot of learnings to take away from it. So over the weekend, after Mars turns direct, look back on the last 10 weeks and consider what in particular felt draining, especially in your Leo or Cancer ruled houses in your birth chart, because those are the two areas that Mars has been retrograde and where we have had a chance to just reconsider how we are operating or how we're channeling our energy. Now, next week, we have a new moon in Pisces, Mercury conjoins Saturn, and at the very end of the week, Mercury enters shadow and Venus turns retrograde in Aries. But before they do, we have this brief week-long period of time where all the planets are direct. So next week is a rite of passage, taking us beyond the slow Mars retrograde energy that colored the start of the year and into an active month of rapid change. March brings Venus retrograde, it brings Mercury retrograde, and it brings our first eclipse season of the year. So from start to finish, March is bringing non-stop opportunities for redirection. Eclipse seasons in general are about fated change and accelerating the inevitable. And with March's eclipse season, we're straddling two eclipse series because we have an eclipse in Virgo and we have an eclipse in Aries. So we're starting off a new 18-month chapter with the eclipse in Virgo, and we're wrapping up the previous 18-month chapter with the eclipse in Aries. Meanwhile, we're also experiencing Mercury and Venus retrograde, which say double, triple check everything and make sure that this is really your choice, that you really want to move forward in this direction. But when we do make choices, which really March's astrology asks us to do, we can be sure that our choices will move us forward in significant ways. March asks us to up-level, to be brave, to be honest, and to be wise. And maybe most importantly, be action-oriented, because change only happens when action is taken. Now let's pull some cards for guidance for this week ahead. And see what we need to know about this week. As we finally begin to move forward in a way that we haven't been able to for a good many weeks. So we have a lot to look forward to this week. So we have the Emperor, we have a 5 of Cups, and we have the 3 of Pentacles. And on the root of the deck, we have the Magician. We hold the power this week. Do not underestimate your power, your ability to create meaningful change in your life in accordance with your will, and to make things happen. How things were in the last 2 months doesn't need to mean anything about how they will be moving forward into this new year. The Emperor and the Magician are so much about personal power, standing our ground, and, asserting ourselves really and taking action on our intentions and our visions and trusting that we have all that we need now inside of us and around us, resource-wise, to create an even better chapter moving forward for our lives. The Emperor is about leadership. It's really this strong kind of Aries Martian energy that does not apologize for their ambition, doesn't apologize for the space they take up creatively, physically, whatever. We want to live life for us this week, and we want to not stop living our life how we want or compromise for other people in a way that just doesn't, it's not necessary. Let go of unnecessary worries of what other people might think of us, or just worries that direct our focus into the past where it doesn't need to be focused. We don't need to be focused in the past. Like, we're really putting some water under the bridge here with the Five of Cups. There's healing that can find us this week. It could be easy in one way, or maybe it was easy in the past 2 months or so, to be focused on what's not working and what's not necessarily feeling so good. But the Emperor's coming in here, and the Three of Pentacles coming in here with this deeply constructive energy of like, what are we going to make of that? What are we going to make of the challenges of the past? As planets turn direct after a retrograde, that's the best time to reflect on what we learned while that planet was retrograde. The invitation of retrogrades is to pause and check in with like our true definition of that planet's themes. So when Mercury is retrograde, we think about, what is my truth and what does it mean for me to speak my truth and to move around my world in a way that just feels like good and right for me. And with Mars retrograde, it's about ambition and what it means to us to be goal-oriented and be leaders and take action in alignment with our will. We've learned a lot about what that means, what that looks like in our life over the last 2 months. So we can make a lot of these last 2 months. Oh, so much learning around what is worth our energy and time and what is not. So what are you going to make of it this week? This week is all about what we are making of our struggles, our challenges, our trials and tribulations, our heartaches, our losses, like our heart opening experiences. What are you going to make of them? The Three of Pentacles brings this energy of collaboration in here. Teamwork, partnerships, could be that seeds that we planted in the past with other people could finally start to grow. And we can realize that maybe the time it took for them to grow was actually exactly what we needed. Exactly what we needed. Like, this week is our Emperor glow up. It's our coming into a new, like, intentional way of being in our life and acting with other people. So what are you letting go? What are you no longer going to let live rent-free in your mind? What are you no longer going to be focused on? What are you no longer available for? And what are you now choosing and deciding? What are you embodying? Who are you going to be? this week. Aries is such a key player in March's astrology, and the Emperor is connected to Aries. Mercury is retrograde in Aries. Venus is retrograde in Aries. We have an eclipse in Aries. Aries season, zodiacal new year. I mean, we can learn a lot from the archetype of Aries this spring, really. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, the first spark of light in the dark, the leader, the trailblazer, which is the first to take action and navigate, forge forward into uncharted waters and just pave the path for other people. Be a way shower for others. It can be lonely at the top and out there on those uncharted trails and paths, but if you feel a call to go somewhere, to follow the light, to follow your inner compass, which is leading you in a certain direction, then you gotta go. We gotta act on that impulse. We gotta act on instinct. That's what Aries teaches us to do. We don't need a plan. We don't need a blueprint. We don't need proof of concept. We don't need other people's validation or permission. We just need our own commitment to unconditional self-love. And that's what Pisces is all about, right? So moving into Pisces season, the last season of the zodiacal year, this is about letting go of the learning of the last 12 months and arriving now home to ourselves and saying, here I am. I love myself no matter what, and I approve of myself no matter what happens. And I will always stick with myself. Always. My love for me is unconditional. And that is the strong, solid place within ourselves that we can build on moving forward into this next year, right? When we move into Aries season, it's like, okay, starting at square one, the first sign of the zodiac. So Pisces season is when we wrap things up and when we integrate, heal, and surrender. Last card that we have here is the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups. Four of Cups and the Five of Cups here. So where are you not going to settle anymore? The Four of Cups is such an interesting card because it's so much about our perspective, I think, a lot of times. Sometimes we don't have eyes to see the way forward and what we want. And so when we can kind of feel stuck, maybe we can feel stagnant, we can just feel not necessarily hungry for anything, not really one thing or another. We just kind of feel meh, maybe. And so when we feel that way, sometimes that's exactly what we need. We just need to be here. We just need to be still. We just need to be for a moment in a state of stability. And that's the invitation sometimes. But other times it's about taking a big step back and going deep into our own inner world and considering, what do I want? What do I just want? What makes life worth living to me? And what do I want to do no matter what happens? What just makes life, what's worth it to me? What do I want to do? If everything else is shit, what do I just want to do then? Or it can ask us to see things from a different perspective, and get out of that daily routine, daily grind, and just kind of let go and unfurl. Sometimes we need a burst of inspiration or energy from an outside source. But either way, I feel like with the Four of Cups coming up with the Five of Cups here, it's like, I think there was a process that needed to take time, like a process of healing that needed to take time. We needed on an emotional level to feel something and to maybe be stuck on something or maybe be with something just for a while. And that is part of the healing process too. You know, holding on to a grudge can be, who's to say that that's not what we need to do, for example, you know? But this week is stepping into our power with a new perspective, in a way. That is what I have for you for this forecast for your week ahead. Now, I want to share a couple offerings that I have running for March. Typically, each month I will run one email course centered around working with a certain astrological transit that really stands out to me about the month ahead. But this March, I'm offering 2 email courses because there are really 2 main significant transits that I think offer us some really rich and profound opportunities. So the first offering that I have for March is a 7-day Venus retrograde self-love mini challenge. So this mini challenge is your guide to kicking off a self-loving, values-aligned shift in your life at a time when the astrology very much supports it in spring. So starting on March 1st, you'll receive a daily audio transmission sharing a bite-sized astrology lesson on Venus retrograde and an astrology-aligned, self-loving mini mission to realign with your true values and open up to new ways that love and harmony can flow into your life. So the objective is, in 7 days, you will be on track to making this Venus retrograde, this magical 40-day, 40-night period of time, your self-loving spring reset. Your whole life glow up, if you like. So inside the Venus retrograde challenge, you'll receive 7 exclusive audio transmissions sharing daily astrology tips and meaningful micro missions to recover your most values-aligned path. You'll also receive a bonus audio training on how to harness the power of spring's Venus retrograde, mini scopes and planning prompts for each rising sign, a bonus 3-minute heart-opening guided meditation created for daily use during Venus retrograde, and more generally, the structure, inspiration, and community to make your Venus retrograde positively transformational. So the link to join the Venus retrograde mini challenge is in the show notes. We begin March 1st. You have nothing to lose but the energy drains that are just ready to go. Now, the second offering that I have for March is called Your Eclipse Story, Pisces and Virgo edition. So I've been offering this email course for the last 3 years during each eclipse season. And it's kind of served as an eclipse season support group for those of us who find ourselves quite affected by eclipses, which are some of the most unpredictable, fated, or karmic events in astrology. But in this email course, you will be guided to explore, contemplate, and record your progress through spring's eclipse season as it unfolds. So you'll do this through exclusive audio offerings and astrology-inspired journal prompts between the lunar eclipse in Virgo, which we have on March 14th, and the solar eclipse in Aries, which lands on March 29th. So the material in this course will guide you to consciously engage with the current astrology and the events taking place in your inner world and outer world. And by the end of this 2-week period, you'll understand how this year's eclipses are affecting your birth chart and what soul-aligned growth requires of you now. So again, the link to Your Eclipse Story is in the show notes. And if you would like both the Venus Retrograde Challenge and the Eclipse Story course, you can bundle them together and save, and the links are below. And lastly, if you really want to go deeper with this spring's astrology, you can book a reading with me. On my shop, I have a selection of tarot and astrology readings based around specific themes, including a full year ahead forecast, full birth chart readings, custom moon maps, and more. If there is ever a month to dive deeper into your birth chart, it is March. So if you feel called, now would be a great time to get a reading if you like. And if you have made it this far, thank you for listening. I'm excited to see you in some of these email courses and talk to you next week.